It's a gloomy day in San Francisco, so why not talk about your March predictions? And whichever you resonate most with will be your reading. And I think because I don't have a million views on my videos, they should be relatively specific, or I'll try and get it as specific as possible. All right, I'm going to share a picture of the three charms. Choose whatever intuitively aligns with you. Also, disclaimer, I read cards intuitively, so if you do not and you read tarot cards traditionally, amazing. You can take whatever meaning you get and have. Oh my god, my hair. But I will simply use them to just channel messages. All right. If you chose a little mushroom, this is your reading. Not to, because I don't want to alarm people, so let's start with the laziness card, and I'll just talk about like what I kind of like initially feel. Here's the thing. I think that with this laziness card, there is just this differentiation between you perpetually taking care of people, maybe even like managing people's emotions, and then there being like a little bit of a hard stop with it. So I actually feel like this laziness may be partially taking care of oneself or just being with oneself, but also just like what that hard stop means. And maybe that's literally like doing nothing. I also feel like the laziness could be like if you feel like you've kind of ended a chapter, amazing. This is like that weird kind of like in between purgatory area where you need to have like a rest or some self-reflection before you move on to the next chapter. Let's see if there's anything else that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm really fixated. If you can see, there's a lot of these like sharp elements that are behind this person, and I think like, you know, I I think traditionally they can mean like a lot of different things, like especially since they're cracked. Maybe the formal meaning of this is that there's ignorance is bliss, right? Like that's I think is kind of what this is reflecting, but I actually read it more so that there's a lot of painful experiences and memories in the past. And like, I don't know, in a weird way, it almost feels like positive. Like this person is actually like hopeful and has faith and is optimistic for the future. So like I don't know. I actually see it as kind of like a good thing, to be honest. So don't be alarmed if you feel like you're in this purgatory state or space. I think that the way to kind of move into the next chapter is really letting go of the past. You can do this through affirmations and intentions, or maybe just doing things differently from the past. Okay, so the Four of Cups. Here's what's interesting about this cat that I am noticing. I feel like they're really like pawing at this empty bowl, even though like it has some stuff in it, but I read it as being empty, even though you can see like a little bit of water in it, or it could just mean like the bare minimum. So I do feel like this cat is sort of pawing at the bare minimum. So you may find that that is kind of what you're doing in March. Like maybe you're just kind of in this zone of like, I don't want to say desperation, but if you're in this like laziness purgatory zone, right? Like you're just kind of wanting to know what happens next. You're kind of wanting to grasp on to the next thing. And the thing is that I'm reading is like there's so many other bowls like happening, and even one that the universe is kind of bringing you. So I don't know. I think that it's time to kind of like stop looking in the direction that you have been looking, like especially if it's been very siloed. Maybe there's like a very specific way you wanted to make money. There's a very specific type of relationship that you've wanted. Maybe there's like a person that you don't want to let go of, even if it's like family oriented or friend oriented or something like that. But like, I do feel like in March, it is really like a test, right? To see if you can sort of reorient yourself and your brain and where you're looking at things to sort of be a little bit more open. I think this could be speaking to people who I don't want to say I've been like stubborn in the past, but like very siloed into their own way of doing things. So this feels like more of a test, while this feels more like the existence that you're living in. So this is going to be your lesson in March. I think like in terms of specific guidance and advice, just remain open. All right, let's move on to the King of Cups. Like, I do feel like there is something great, grand, and prophetic which is going to be happening to you or for you. Perhaps it's related to the other cards that we kind of like spoke about, where you're really releasing yourself from the past, or this is going to be a very different way of looking at things and doing things. But let's dive like a little bit deeper. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you've got a lot of good third eye energy happening in the month of March, this could be a great time to do envisioning exercises of what you want in the future, or maybe just like other things that are existing around your ethers. Like, I don't always feel like visioning exercises have to be future oriented. A lot of times it could be like in this self reflection zone, like we were talking about here, where maybe you're kind of meditating and there could be actively rejected or repressed energies around your being that need attention and direction, primarily release and transmission. Yeah, I do feel like this could be a little bit of a cry month. You're seeing like a lot of like water. Obviously, this is a cup, card. So very like emotion oriented. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're really, really finishing a deep, like karmic, maybe like ancestry oriented, like there's a finale happening in March. And it feels like after March, it is over. And like maybe it has to do with irregular or like dysregulated emotions, and the way that you're going to be able to kind of get out of this is using your third eye and just sort of like, again, having that hope, faith, and optimism for the future. But like, especially with like all of this stuff opening up here, like there are going to be new different outlooks and opportunities for you coming either in March or in April. It could very well be that this process starts in March, but you're not seeing much happening until April. Okay, Nine of Wands. I'm telling you, I keep getting like, clearly this is my my deck because I keep getting this a lot. Um yeah, I mean, like, I'm really fixated on this girl's kind of, or this athlete rather, their sort of vigilance and sort of pissed offness. And I think that that is kind of warranted because there's probably a lot of things that have happened in the past which are like a little bit unfair, or maybe putting you at the center of something which like you didn't deserve to be at. So like there's a little bit of like on guardness happening in March. But here's what's good about it. Like, I do feel like there are like structures and things for you to kind of like hold on to in general. So I think that you will still have enough abundance to get through the month of March, even though, the future may be a little bit weary and you're just not entirely sure. But also, there's so much like backing this person up in terms of like their ancestry guidance and things of that nature. So I honestly think that the universe really has your back in March. And I'm not just saying that, like, this like keeps coming over and over again with the cards that we're getting. So, it's hard. It's almost like maybe this is a little bit more of like a reassurance kind of thing. But what is also really interesting to me is the parallel where like this athlete is so desperately holding on to this one singular stick. This cat is so trying to get something out of this bowl. And it's like, I do feel like an ultimate release and surrender needs to happen of the things that you've been holding on to. Like, they're no longer serving you. And it's really time to move forward overall. So I will say that March could be a little sticky. It could be a little bit challenging and rough, but that it weirdly, for a cycle that is ending, that is so profound and intense, it feels like relatively gentle. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like you're ever going to need to look back at the past after the month of March. So I don't know. I think like as much as this isn't going to be like fun, levity, exciting, like it's so, so, so important, and I would probably choose this deck over others, to be honest. All right, if you chose the purple flower, this is your March reading or March predictions. Okay, let's start with this one. Nope. All right, starting off strong, don't be alarmed. We do have the sorrow card. Yeah, let's just get it out of the way. This is interesting because I do feel like it's like has kind of a similar vibe. We had the laziness card in pile one, and like there is this kind of it feels like relatively similar. I do feel like based on this, March will just can be a very emotional time for the collective. We've also got a lot of rain happening now, so that tends to kind of like wipe things away, and it takes like a bit to kind of get this stuff out. I also feel like transitioning from winter to spring kind of does that. Nevertheless, I'll stop rambling. I think that what I'm kind of gathering from this is a little bit of shame and upset at the things that you have done in your past. Like, weirdly, I don't actually feel like this is external, which I think could breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief that, your environment may necessarily not be crashing down on you, but it's more like you imploding a little bit. Obviously, that's not amazing, but if there are things which you've been holding on to, which you felt guilty about or you felt ashamed of, like this is really the time to let it go. And I do feel like, this little sliver in the background is speaking to an opportunity, like an almost like this like astrological sort of wild event where finally this stuff can be let go while up until now you've just been needing to kind of hold on to it in general. It is like really interesting that this person is really wrapped in clothing and it feels a little bit insulated. So it may mean that there are things which you're kind of like desperately and deeply still hanging on to into the month of March. And like weirdly, I do feel like that is okay because I think that this needs to, like, whatever you are releasing, it needs to be somewhat of a gentle and sort of like ongoing process. So I don't think that this is actually saying you need to get rid of anything and everything all at once, and that probably isn't necessarily advised. So you may actually find that March is not the right time to sort of do anything drastic or release people unnecessarily. Obviously, if it's a situation for your own kind of health and safety, sure, amazing. But, for other instances, this is what this would be speaking to. I don't know. I mean, I think it is gonna be a little bit of a challenge. It's gonna be a little bit of a struggle, but there is gonna be a lot of positivity on the other side in terms of clarity and just like peace and just, I don't know, like so much more of a better vibration overall in general. So if you can get through March, I do feel like, you're gonna be setting yourself up for success for the rest of the year. Wow. Okay. So there are such amazing like cards coming after this. So I'm so happy we got, that out of the way. I do want to kind of go into the world. And of course, even though I don't read tarot intuitively, I know how amazing and powerful the world is. It's really interesting because like my immediate reaction is like, okay, well, this is going to happen like after we get through the sorrow, but it's almost like the knowledge and information and self connection and subconscious alignment that you gain from this sorrow, like that's what this world card is. Like, I do feel like your soul kind of came onto this earth to know and understand yourself so profoundly and be the manifester and master of your own destiny. And it's like, this is going to happen. Like, it genuinely feels like there is a wild paradigm shift happening in March for you, which is amazing. And like, what I also like is that I will get to that in a second, but we also have the Wheel of Fortune. Like, so we have this like really interesting dichotomy between kind of traditionally negative and traditionally positive. And that's very cool. That's awesome because like anytime you're feeling the bad vibes, you may just wake up the next day and you're kind of like offset from it. Like you have a better vibe type of thing. So like I don't get the sense, even though you're in sorrow, that you're going to be so deeply down in the dumps that you're not going to be able to move forward. It's always like you're so connected to the light at the end of the tunnel that you're going to be kind of like riding waves throughout March. So, as long as you don't mind being somewhat upended by this paradigm shift, I think you're going to get through March quite well. Yeah, and I feel like this ribbon is just like speaking to like divine protection. And I actually feel like there could be something like really powerful going on with relationships in general. It's like if you're not in a romantic relationship, this could be the time where you're either like potentially meeting someone or just like manifesting this for the future. And if not, it could also mean if you're in a relationship that things are getting like more intimate, obviously, right? Because like you're letting go so much of the sorrow, you're able to kind of get deeper into yourself and you can meet people on a deeper level because you're deeper, right? And if not, it I think just alternatively means that like there is just intimate connection overall, which could be with any single living, organism that's out there. Yeah, and I also love, obviously this person is nude, and I think that there is just like this bearing of yourself and your soul, which is going to happen from this sorrow card, which I also love. It's just very cool. It feels very like holistic and complete. You may even notice that like things in your life are like a little bit more holistic, whether it's like your diet, your exercise, things of that nature. I don't want to end with the Wheel of Fortune because I do feel like it's positive. So let me go with the Hermit card. I also know what the Hermit card is since it's, major arcana, I believe. Um, yeah. I'm just trying to figure out how this is kind of like telling a slightly different story because I feel like this kind of encapsulates like everything that we've talked about, right? Like the going inward, the sorrow, the new, opportunities, like all of this really just like this Hermit card is kind of redundant. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that this is like taking over so much of your March that this is just like an added kind of bonus here, right? But I do love this kind of like lantern element or aspect of the card, like this area kind of right here. It's almost like you have like unlimited power within your own kind of like hands, or in your own like ability. Obviously, like it's not speaking directly to hands because it's an external item, but it's like, wow, you can actually manifest anything and everything that you want. Like starting in March, probably starting now, to be honest. Don't wait on it, right? But like I do feel like there's this opportunity to gain things like outside of your wildest imagination, which is awesome. It's just like very cool. So make sure that you're doing a lot of manifesting and envisioning and just like getting outside of your zone overall. I also feel like just like based on how this character is illustrated, there's a lot of wisdom happening. And so maybe before there was a little bit more of immaturity going on with kind of just like, I want this, I need this, like this will make me happy. Maybe almost like a cheap thrills or like quick fun thrills like type of thing. And now it's like you kind of realize that long-term investment strategies are going to pay off more than just sort of like immediately what you want today or tomorrow. And so I think that that is really, really going to help you continue to build the life of your dreams overall. Okay, so lastly, we do have the Wheel of Fortune card, which is cool. Like, ooh, it's so interesting because I do feel like in March, you have probably more ability to choose than like what you even think you should be responsible for. It's almost like a grandmaster is coming to like a child and being like, "Well, what do you want?" And you're like, "I don't know. Like I don't feel like I'm responsible enough to like know what I want." But you have choice and that means you're a very powerful being. I mean, all beings have choice, right? But like it's I don't know, maybe you didn't feel like you had choice before. Like maybe you were tied into some karmic issues or problems or lessons where like you tried so desperately to get out and now the universe is like, "Well, you're out. Now what?" And you're like, "I don't know. I never thought about that before." Like this is like kind of overwhelming. So, the sense of freedom that you have in March may be a little strange and a little scary, but I think that, in terms of guidance and advice, use this time when you actually do feel like you have energy and sort of alignment and resonation to things that like you've put off a lot in the past or just like are buried on your to-do list. Like now is kind of the time to do it. I don't want to say it's overtly a trial and error month because like, I don't think you're flailing in the middle of nowhere and starting from zero. I feel like you're starting from like 90 or like 95. And it's more just about those things that like have been haunting you a little bit that you need and want to get done. And now is really the time to kind of do it. And I think it will just simply propel your energy forward and just like give you a little bit more reassurance, even in terms of like what you want for the future. And so, I don't know, I think that this sense of freedom, yeah, it's going to be scary, but it's going to be pretty cool as well. All right, lastly, if you have the bunny, aka the Playboy bunny, this is going to be your March reading or March predictions. All right, we got to start with the Oracle card, right? Wow. It's funny because like all of these like obviously, you're probably not reading all of them or listening to all of them, but they all are like kind of interconnected in some way, shape, or form, which is cool. Okay, so you have got the Creator. Very cool, very amazing, and very awesome. I love this. You've got the power of manifestation, of dreams, of lightness and brightness. I wouldn't be surprised if you're on stage, if you're doing a lot of social media posts, if like people are like attracted to you and paying attention to you, like maybe like if you've been on dating apps and you've gotten no luck, it's like, whoa, things are really shifting and changing in March. Or like maybe people are just seeing you differently in general and like you're just tapping into this energy. Who knows why? Like I almost don't feel like there's necessarily a logic to it. Yes, probably you've been doing the work, but I almost feel like it's just like a divine timing type of thing, which is very cool because like how how flattering is that, right? I'm a Leo, so I have to say the word flattering, but like how gracious is that like you just get an opportunity and a chance. And I just love like the sort of expression where it's like, yeah, I deserve this. Maybe everybody is just channeling Leo energy in March. I'm not 100% sure. But like, I love how this is kind of like in a weird way focusing on the crown chakra. You could be doing a lot of channeling. And yeah, I really think this is primarily more about the radiation and the good energy and vibes that are coming from you. And so I feel like it's relatively straightforward. Okay, I kind of want to go to this card, which, what the heck even is it? I'm having such an issue with this cat tarot card. I don't know what any of them are. Seven of Pentacles. I think this is just like kind of funny. Like it brings like very like gestury vibes and also like teasing other people kind of vibes, not necessarily in a bad way. There's also like other cards in other groups which were talking about like gaining the bare minimum from things and not really working out. And I feel like this is like somewhat corresponding to that energy, but not the same thing, because I don't think it has anything to do with like you struggling with self-worth or not looking in the right place. It's almost just kind of like you just want to have fun. You kind of want to like mess around with people in a positive way. Maybe you're just like getting good energy out of people, right? Like, because we do have this creator card where maybe your energy is changing and shifting and you're just like, whoa, what do I do with this? Do I hang out with new people? Do I date new people? Do I mix things up at work? And so like I think this is just sort of like the mixing up energy overall. So could also be if it's not something that you're interested in doing on a personal level or professional level, like it could be like your creative pursuits that you're just kind of like throwing things out there like spaghetti to the wall and seeing what sticks. I think that's also a valid execution of this kind of message overall. But I don't know, I just like love kind of like the focus of this cat. Like I do feel like March may be a focus month for you overall, and I do really like that. I don't know, I feel like this just represents a lot of fun, playful energy, levity, and you just trying to like figure things out a little bit. And so it could also be a good month to do things which are a little bit wild and out of the box. Just things which maybe have been like loosely on your to-do list. I could see that happening here. Okay, so obviously we need to calm it down with the Temperance card. Let's take a look at this. I'll show y'all first. Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, this illustration, I will say in comparison to other decks, it's a little bit intense. So it's interesting that this one came up from this particular deck. I mean, I hate to say it, like the message that comes to me is like there will be blood type of thing. So like it is possible that things kind of like break, things end. But the message that goes around with it is either that like it's not permanent, or I don't want to say it's not as big of a deal as you think it is, because obviously I don't want to like say that your feelings are valid type of thing, but I don't know, maybe it is helpful to hear it if things kind of like fracture. Like I don't feel like it's like an ending card. I think it's just kind of like a break kind of card, like where things kind of like snap in half. And it's a good question because like I never really get that message that things kind of like break or snap. So in terms of like the meaning behind that or it may just be that like, your power is sort of fracturing things which maybe like need to be fractured. Like you are this creator, you are this kind of like playful like destroyer, I guess you could say. And you're using your powers in a way that's experimentative, but I think like also you have to keep in mind it needs to be for like the highest good. So like an example of this is like if you're in like a relationship where like you have the power dynamic, could also be like in your family and friends or in your kind of like job. It's almost like you're like, whoa, I know how to get things done. Like I know how to make people obsessed with me. It's like, all right, well, yeah, sure, but let's just like calm it down a little bit. So I think you're gonna need to kind of like toe that line. But overall, that's like an incredibly cool sort of scenario and message for March. Okay, so obviously like, the message of temperance, like keep this kind of balanced, everything that we have talked about. And yeah, I mean, I do love, we're getting so many eyes coming up in these cards, which I really like. So, keeping in mind that, your third eye chakra might just be like the way to kind of win in this scenario. So like if you're stuck between like multiple decisions, being the creator and the teaser of sorts, what does your visioning, like higher channeling voice say? That was a weird way of saying that, but like what does third eye say basically in these situations, and like how can you use that wisdom and advice to like how can you leverage that in your decision making moving forward? But this is like, there's just a lot going on here energy wise. So you may also feel like in March, there's just like a lot of things coming at you, or like a lot of things that you need to kind of like juggle and balance. But I don't feel like it's to overwhelm you. I think it's like maybe a refinement exercise, but also lots of different options to see what interests you most that you can take forward with you, like especially if there is going to be this fracturing. Yeah, it's like almost like this is the first card that has come up out of any group that like it feels intense, just kind of like holding the card in and of itself. So that may just be the energy that you're kind of working through in March. But hey, if things have been a little bit lazy or stagnant in your life, maybe this kind of intense energy makes you feel alive and it's like a little bit of a net new challenge for you. So maybe it's just not a bad thing. I don't know. Okay, love this. I thought it was King of Pentacles. Never mind. It is Nine of Pentacles. Here's what's really interesting about this card, since we just came from like the super, super intense, energetic card of Temperance, right? Like there is this like peacefulness and this calmness. I also want to focus on the fact that her gaze is somewhere else, even though she's got all of these pentacles around her. It's almost like there's something outside of the abundance that's kind of like coming in. The best way I can describe this is like, she kind of like has a lot going on, but like, not necessarily negatively in a wandering eye, but like maybe something or someone else is kind of like coming in. Like, I think, I don't know. It does feel like kind of like a positive and peaceful expression. It's almost like she's filled up her cup, even though this is Pentacles, and now she's kind of like waiting for like the next best, not, that doesn't sound right, the next thing that is going to fulfill kind of like her life. But like point being, everything else is already fulfilled. She's got all these pentacles holding the carrots, got the tomatoes behind her. It doesn't feel negative. So I don't know if the traditional, interpretation of this is kind of negative. I don't feel like I pulled this for a negative reason. Like I think it's more about she's sorting her life out and now something or someone else can come in to kind of complement. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is talking about like a romantic relationship if you are single, or could very easily be friends as well. Just other stuff to kind of like support and I don't know, take care of her overall. Sorry, I'm just like noticing some weird things. Okay, anyway. Let me see if there's anything else. I don't know. Like I think, you know, to the best of your ability, even though we've got a lot of chaos happening with the Temperance, this is intense energy. This is the most intense, intensely energetic group that I have. Like there is a way, even like the bird on her head, to remain grounded throughout all of this. And so Googling tips and tricks to remain grounded, a great thing to do in the month of March. But what I love about this is like usually there's this kind of like summary of like, okay, and this is where it's going to lead you. And it's like, I have no idea where this is going to lead you because like TBD what your decisions are and like what this is all going to net out to be. But stick with it, stay along for the ride. Don't give up and don't like shy away from difficult decisions, experiences, and confrontations, because I actually feel like confrontations, like kind confrontations, right? Not like yelling at each other, are somehow going to like drive energy forward in March. So like it's okay to kind of like talk about things. Like don't be afraid to do that in March. But this is just like a really cool, interesting pull of cards, I have to say. Thanks for watching. Have a happy, lucky, amazing, abundant, beautiful March.